No more lying to yourself, Scorpio, and no more lies in general. We've got Seven of Swords and the Sun here. This is a lie being brought illuminated. So there's no more lies, whether or not you've been the one telling the lie, and now there's no more avoiding this lie because either you got caught in a lie or because it's obvious, or vice versa, where somebody else has been telling a lie or a situation that's been deceitful is being illuminated, and there is no more denial, there's no more looking away, and you've been trying, or somebody has been trying, or maybe you've been dealing with someone who's been avoiding looking at the truth for a while, Scorpio, because that's the Queen of Cups here. That's somebody who is having a really hard time avoiding a situation that's now being thrown in their face. Like, they can't avoid it anymore, but they had been avoiding it. It's getting harder and harder to not look at this blatant lie. Now, keep in mind, this can be sort of like a lie you tell yourself, right? This doesn't necessarily have to be a lie somebody else tells you. It can be a lie you tell yourself too, but these lies are getting really hard to look away from. That's what I got from the Queen of Cups with the Five of Wands, and here's why. The last card's very interesting, Five of Wands, because people are throwing it in your face. It's being thrown in your face in a way that's unavoidable. Either Five of Wands is like rabble energy. It's like people yelling. It is a little bit of a debate energy. So if it's being talked about, you can't avoid, if it's being talked about in the room, then you can't avoid it, coming into the conversation. Let's pull Oracle cards and see if we can find out more. Okay, so before I even get to the Oracle cards, I peeked at the next card of the deck, and it was the Four of Wands. So this denial could, for some of you, have to do with relationships, Four of Wands. Just saying. Anyway, let's move on to the Oracle cards and see what else we get. Tell me more about Scorpio. Okay, we have Jupiter coming out, but it's coming out next to the cave. This is really interesting placement. The cave is the stuff that's kind of like your closet, or the closet, where these secrets and deceits have been hiding out in, okay? Jupiter is, again, it's escalating the situation, such that, well, people have to look into the cave. You can't really hide the skeletons in your closet, or people can't, because the skeletons are actually getting bigger. They're so big they don't fit in the closet. That's the sort of situation that's happening right now, and the reason why people are having a hard time avoiding the deceits, because they're so big. They're so big they don't fit into the closet, and everyone can see them, and they're hard to not notice. And then we have the bread here, which is interesting because the bread is a need, not a want. It's a necessity. And so it's like going down the rabbit hole and uncovering all these things and looking at all the lies and deceits and things that are maybe even self-sabotaging are a necessity this week for you guys, Scorpio, or maybe just for the collective, because I really do think this reading applies to a lot of people because of the full moon. All right, let's pull some cards and get some advice for you guys. Advice for Scorpio? Oh, advice for Scorpio? Okay, so as I got the King of Swords and the Knight of Swords, and as I dealt them out, I heard in my mind the cold hard fact. The cold hard facts. Let me sit with that for a second. Yeah, and that makes so much sense. Why something's unavoidable. If something's a cold hard fact, right, and the King of Swords is very cold, and the Knight of Swords is just information, it's data, it's almost like messages even, potentially, or correspondence. There's something about it that is cut and dry, and it's a cold hard fact, and therefore you can't avoid it, right? When something has so much backing behind it, and data behind it, and people that are supporting behind this thing, that it becomes a fact, it becomes a lot harder to ignore and avoid, or certainly a lot harder to deny, right? Because there's definitely a denial component along with an avoidance component for whoever you guys are dealing with, and again, this could be you. But let's see what else there is here. Let's see if we can get any more information about this. Oof, this is really interesting. Now we got the King of Wands and the Page of Pentacles. This is like primal, physical, it's almost genetic. It's like who someone is on a genetic level is the King of Wands and the Page of Pentacles, and it's a fact. And it's a fact. It's a cold hard fact, and it's unavoidable. And that's and that is and that's why it's like you can't deny it any longer, because it is almost genetic. It is like so deeply fundamentally rooted in who this person is, or how this thing was created, that that it's unavoidable. And now I'm just repeating myself. So But again, in terms of advice for the King of Swords, it's also don't take things personally. Don't take the situation personally, finding out all these things personally. King of Swords is actually be very like logical and cold about the situation too. So take that also as part of the advice amidst all this. Let's see what we get out of the Oracle cards. Any other advice here for Scorpio? Any more advice for Scorpio? Scorpio? Oof. You know, I said genetic, right? The advice is, again, it's like look to the genes. Look to the family tree. We've got the nut and the city. That to me, I'm getting family tree. Look to the ancestry. And that maybe will shed some light on the problem, or it has something to do with this deception, this self-deception, this deceit that's being brought to light. It has something to do with that, or maybe this helps as part of the advice, is to look at that for maybe an explanation, or maybe that helps you in some way. That is the advice, is to look to your ancestry. Not sure why that's coming out. Really not. Let's see what else. Yeah, and now we got the skull and crossbones of Zero and Libra. It's almost like a pattern that had to be broken, like ancestral patterns, like family karma, like patterns of, you know, that your family passed down to you, ways of being that your family passed down to you. These self-sabotaging or deceitful, maybe even at this point, because they're no longer valid, ways of being need to be addressed or need to be looked at, and it just needs to happen at some point, and that point I think is now. It's closing out karma. It is closing out karma, and so it has to happen for the sake of that. And so the advice is to just know that, know that it is closing out a karmic cycle that needs to be closed out, that's tied to ancestral roots, ancestral patterning. And so I think it's for the best that it's closing out, because it needs to be closed out for that cycle to end, if that makes any sense. Okay, Scorpio, that is going to be your reading. Thank you guys for being here. If you want to see more of these videos, don't forget to follow the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.